Aya Wilson just played the biggest games of her season in front of rows of empty seats, and she is not hiding her frustration. The two-time MVP and face of the Las Vegas Aces walked off the court after Game 1 of the WNBA Finals and vented the one thing no one else in the league wanted to admit. The energy was dead. The vibe was off. The stands were nearly empty. And it all came down to one glaring absence, Caitlin Clark. The WNBA's Golden Goose wasn't anywhere near the finals, and without her, the whole production collapsed.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Tickets dropped to $6. $6 for the championship round of a professional sports league. The arena looked like a preseason scrimmage. It was a visual embarrassment. Clark, who had single-handedly drawn 1.8 million viewers to a first-round playoff game, wasn't even mentioned in official promos. And yet her absence echoed louder than any buzzer. The numbers don't lie. Ratings for the finals fell nearly 50% compared to games she did play in. While the league publicly brushed it off, the players didn't. DeWanna Bonner, a 17-year veteran and WNBA legend, let it slip too. Her post-game comments made it crystal clear. This wasn't just a bad turnout. It felt like betrayal. These players put on a clinic, played their hearts out, and still found themselves performing for half-empty buildings, while the league acted like everything was fine. And when Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was pressed, she doubled down, refusing to acknowledge the Caitlin-sized hole in the room. Social media did not hold back. Fans dragged the league for its tone-deaf marketing, the empty arena optics, and the refusal to accept what everyone already knows. The WNBA right now is living and dying by Caitlin Clark's shadow. Engelbert's PR spin didn't help. It backfired. The "we don't need her" energy felt delusional, and fans weren't buying it. What should have been the most exciting matchup of the year turned into a meme. The league's arrogance is costing them. Sponsors are uneasy. Broadcasters are checking their calculators. Viewers are switching channels. And worst of all, the athletes at the center of it all, Wilson, Bonner, and others, are left wondering what more they have to do to get support that lasts longer than one media cycle. The league's credibility is cracking fast. $6. That's how much it cost to walk into a WNBA Finals game this year. $6. Less than a stadium hot dog. Less than a grande frappuccino, and apparently still too expensive to draw a crowd. The league's biggest stage was supposed to be a celebration of talent, grit, and women's basketball at its finest. But instead, we got rows and rows of empty seats, camera angles strategically hiding bare sections of the arena, and a broadcast vibe that felt more like a preseason scrimmage than the championship series. And the elephant in the room, the glaring absence of Caitlin Clark, wasn't just noticeable. It was deafening. This wasn't just a dip in attendance. It was a full-blown collapse. After months of headlines, historic viewership numbers, and buzzy debates about the future of the WNBA, the finals were supposed to capitalize on all that momentum. Instead, the league looked like it hit a brick wall, hard, and now fans are angry. Players are fed up. The league's leadership is under fire, and the internet, absolutely ruthless. It all started with expectations. Coming into the season, the hype around Caitlin Clark had hit stratospheric levels. She wasn't just a rookie, she was a storyline. From the moment she entered the league, she brought eyeballs, headlines, and a level of cultural relevance the WNBA hadn't seen in years. Love her, or hate her, people were tuning in. Clark's first playoff game drew over 1.8 million viewers. That's not just good, it's historic. She single-handedly spiked interest, brought in casual fans, and gave the league a reason to believe this was the breakout year. But then her team got knocked out. And just like that, so did the energy. Cue the finals. Expectations were sky high, but the air in the building told a different story. Thousands of seats sat empty. Fans online posted photos of desolate sections, joking that the players could probably hear individual coughs from the nosebleeds. And those $6 tickets? They weren't even selling out. That's not just a red flag. It's a crisis. Aya Wilson, one of the league's top stars, wasn't having it. After delivering elite performances on the court, she looked around at the atmosphere and had every right to feel insulted. This was the finals. This was supposed to be the pinnacle. Instead, it felt like no one showed up. Wilson and other veterans like DeWanna Bonner made it clear. They were frustrated, disillusioned, and frankly, pissed. And they weren't alone. Fans online didn't hold back either. Twitter and TikTok lit up with criticism of the league's handling of the situation. Memes mocked the empty arenas. Sarcastic commentary dragged the low-energy broadcasts. And users were quick to point out what everyone was thinking. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA just didn't feel the same. The league's leadership, they did what they always do. Rolled out the polished statements. Talk about growing the game, and doubled down on the idea that this was still a success. But it wasn't. The ratings plummeted, nearly 50% lower than expected. That's not just disappointing. That's catastrophic. And fans saw right through the PR spin. Many pointed the finger directly at WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, accusing her of arrogance, tone-deaf leadership, and flat-out denial. Instead of acknowledging Clark's impact and the league's need to evolve, Engelbert dismissed concerns and stuck to the script. But that script isn't working anymore. What's worse, it's not just about the lack of one player. This whole debacle exposed something deeper. The league's over-reliance on Clark wasn't just risky, it was revealing. When one rookie becomes the only reliable ticket seller, you've got a structural problem. And when the finals fall apart without her, the whole system gets called into question. Insiders say players have been voicing concerns for months about marketing, fan engagement, and the league's inability to build broader appeal. And this postseason meltdown proved them right. The disconnect between leadership and the people actually playing the game, it's wide and growing. Sponsorships and broadcasters are starting to take notice, too. If the league can't sustain momentum without one player, what's the long-term value? No one wants to invest in a product that's this dependent on a single narrative. And right now, the WNBA's House of Cards is swaying in the wind. The frustration from the players is palpable. Wilson's post-game comments weren't just emotional. They were a direct call-out. She talked about putting in the work, delivering elite performances, and still being met with indifference. Bonner echoed that sentiment, slamming the energy or lack thereof in the arena and questioning whether the league really had her back. This isn't drama for the sake of it. These are elite athletes at the top of their game, feel like their moment is being overshadowed by mismanagement, poor marketing, and a lack of respect. And when the athletes start sounding more honest than the league itself, that's a PR disaster waiting to explode. The internet wasted no time. Clips of Wilson and Bonner venting went viral. Fans chimed in, demanding accountability. Some even called for Engelbert's resignation, accusing her of turning a blind eye to the obvious problems. And once social media gets a hold of something like this, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. At this point, even loyal fans are starting to ask the hard questions. Why is the league so resistant to acknowledging what's clearly happening? Why did they drop the ball so badly on maintaining momentum post-Clark? And why does it feel like ego is driving decisions more than strategy? That ego, combined with denial and a lack of transparency, is what really stings. No one expected the finals to pull Super Bowl numbers. But a visible lack of effort to engage fans, promote matchups, and build real excitement, that's on the league. The wild part? There is talent on the court. Aya Wilson is a powerhouse. DeWanna Bonner is a legend. There are storylines, rivalries, and moments worth celebrating. But none of that matters if fans aren't watching, and that falls squarely on the league's failure to market its stars beyond the shiny new rookie. The WNBA had a golden opportunity this season. Caitlin Clark brought a whole new wave of interest, casual viewers, and social media buzz. But instead of using that as a launch pad to elevate the entire league, leadership seemed content to ride one wave. And when it crashed, they were left scrambling. It's a lesson in marketing, humility, and basic common sense. You can't build an empire on one player. You have to create a web of stars, a storyline that includes everyone, and a product that stands on its own, regardless of who's in the spotlight. Otherwise, you end up with empty arenas, $6 tickets, and a finals that feels like an afterthought. The current crisis isn't just a bump in the road. It's a flashing warning sign. If the league doesn't course correct and fast, it risks losing the very momentum it worked so hard to build. Sponsors will back away. Fans will check out. And the credibility that came with Clark's arrival? Gone. The irony is, this could have been avoided. If leadership had embraced Clark's popularity without trying to downplay it, if they had invested in elevating other players alongside her, if they had listened to fans and players instead of dismissing them, this finals could have been electric. Instead, it felt like a silent protest, a league in denial, a product caught between ego and opportunity. So now, the WNBA finds itself at a crossroads. The anger from players is real. The backlash from fans is growing. The skepticism from partners is loud. And the question is no longer about ticket prices. It's about trust. Because what this finals fiasco really showed us is that hype can't replace strategy. Star power is amazing, but it has to be supported. And fans? They're not stupid. They see the cracks. They feel the tension. And they know when they're being sold a fantasy that doesn't match the reality. If the league wants to survive this mess, it needs more than another press release. It needs leadership that listens, marketing that reflects reality, and a genuine effort to connect with the people who actually care. The talent is there. The passion is there. The potential is still there. But time? It's running out. If you've been watching this play out and shaking your head, you're not alone. The finals may be over, but the real game is just beginning, and the next season better come with receipts. Let us know what you think. Is the WNBA in denial, or is this just a growing pain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more celebrity and sports meltdowns, and we'll keep bringing the drama straight to your screen. Because in a world full of chaos, at least the tea never stops spilling. The league can spin this any way it wants. But $6 finals tickets? That's not a bargain. That's a red flag waving furiously in the wind, screaming, something's not working here. You don't need to be a marketing executive or a PR strategist to figure out that your championship series shouldn't be struggling to fill seats like a Tuesday night community theater production. This was supposed to be the pinnacle of the season, not a clearance sale. And here's where it gets even messier. Instead of facing the music, league leadership tried to act like everything was business as usual. Kathy Engelbert, whose job, by the way, is literally to grow and protect the league, was out here downplaying the empty arenas, ignoring the ratings crash, and brushing off the obvious truth that everyone else could see. Caitlin Clark moved a needle, and without her, the league flatlined. That's not Clark's fault. It's not even the fault of the players who did make the finals. They showed up. They competed. They gave everything. But what they got in return? Crickets. Or worse, condescending spin from the top, pretending it's all fine and normal, and not an utter disaster for a league trying to prove its relevance. You know what's not a great look? Players who just left everything on the court, having to beg fans to come to their games. Aya Wilson didn't just ball out. She had to become her own marketing team. She's tweeting. She's showing up on podcasts. She's calling out the silence. Because if the league won't hype its stars, who will? Let's be clear, this isn't about one game. It's about a pattern. A fundamental disconnect between what the players are doing and what the league is doing with it. The product on the court? It's solid. But the packaging? It's broken. And players like Wilson, Bonner, and others are done pretending they're not frustrated. This whole mess has exposed a painful truth. The WNBA had the momentum. It had the buzz. It had a chance to seize a cultural moment. And instead of building a league-wide spotlight, it banked everything on one player and failed to build a safety net when she got bounced. That's not strategy. That's wishful thinking. And now, the cracks are showing. Social media has been brutal. You'd think a league in crisis might try to listen to the conversation, take notes, adjust. But no, leadership's still acting like the problem is optics, not execution. They keep shouting growth like it's a shield. But when your finals have fewer people in the seats than a minor league baseball game, you can't blame the camera angles. The memes alone could fill an arena. $6 and still no vibes. I sneeze and miss the whole crowd. Is this a finals game or a family reunion? It's funny, but it's also sad, because the players deserve better. The fans deserve better. And the league has no one to blame but itself for this preventable mess. And before anyone jumps in with the whole growing pains excuse, Stop. That only works when leadership actually learns something. But right now, it feels like they're plugging their ears and humming over the noise. If growth is happening, it's not because of the top, it's in spite of it. Let's talk about the arrogance. Because it's not just missteps, it's an attitude problem. The league's refusal to acknowledge Clark's impact isn't just bad business, it's delusional. Whether you like her or not, the numbers don't lie. She brought in viewers. She brought in headlines. She mattered in a way that moved the entire sports landscape. And yet, leadership seemed more interested in downplaying that than leveraging it. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's politics. Maybe it's the outdated belief that if we pretend it's equal, it'll become equal. But newsflash, ignoring reality doesn't change it. It just makes you look out of touch. Meanwhile, sponsors and networks are watching this in real time. And you can bet they're asking hard questions. If the finals tanked this hard without one player, how stable is the product? How deep is the league's bench? Not just on the court, but in terms of marketable stars, compelling narratives, and long-term strategy. The WNBA could have used Clark's presence to amplify the entire league. They could have used the spotlight she brought to introduce fans to other players, rivalries, stories. But instead, it turned into a weird game of pretend. Like if they didn't say her name, everything would be fine. Spoiler, it wasn't. And players felt that. You can see it in their interviews, in their tweets, in their body language. They've been fighting for relevance for years. And when a tidal wave of attention finally crashed into the league, instead of riding it, leadership stood on the shore arguing about who deserved credit. So now, here we are. A finals that looked like a ghost town. A ratings drop so sharp it made headlines. Players airing their grievances in public. Because behind the scenes, it's clearly not being handled. And a league that keeps saying, we're growing, while tripping over the same mistakes. It's not just frustrating, it's embarrassing. Not for the players, but for the people running the show. You know what fans want? A league that treats its stars like stars. A finals that feels like a finals. A leadership team that actually listens instead of gaslighting. A plan that doesn't hinge on one person's popularity to stay afloat. Is that really too much to ask? Apparently, yes. Because the WNBA's response to this crisis has been equal parts silence and spin. Instead of acknowledging the role Clark played in boosting visibility, they treated her like a problem to manage. Instead of boosting Wilson and others to also become household names, they relied on inertia. And what did that get them? A $6 finals, a social media dragging, and now a credibility crisis that won't go away with a few Instagram highlight reels. Let's not forget, the players did their part. They trained, they played, they gave everything. And in return, they're watching their biggest games get mocked for looking like a high school tournament. That's not just a failure, it's a betrayal. The WNBA doesn't need to be the NBA. It doesn't need to be a carbon copy. But what it does need to be is real, honest, and responsive. Right now, it's none of those things. It's a league built on incredible athletes and held back by outdated thinking, bruised egos, and a refusal to evolve. It doesn't have to be this way. There's still time. This disaster could be a wake-up call, a turning point, a chance to finally listen, adjust, and build something sustainable. But that starts with accountability, with leadership admitting what went wrong, with real conversations about marketing, engagement, and star development. Because the WNBA has the talent, it has the potential. What it doesn't have right now, the trust. And without that, no amount of buzzy rookies or discount tickets can save it. So here's the $1 million question. Or, well, the $6 question. What now? Do the people at the top keep pretending this finals was a win? Or do they finally face the hard truth and rebuild with the players, not around them? That choice would define the next chapter of the league. And the fans? They're watching. And here's where it really starts to sting. The people who should be carrying this league forward are the ones getting burned the hardest. Aya Wilson? She's not just a star, she's a franchise. MVP-level talent. Charismatic. Consistent. She shows up every night, plays at the highest level, and somehow still gets treated like a side character in a league that's supposed to be built around her. The fact that she had to sit through empty rows during the finals, after carrying her team and the league on her back all season is nothing short of insulting. And it's not just her. It's players like DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Breanna Stewart, women who've dedicated years to building this league from the ground up, players who've stayed through the low viewership, the travel struggles, the disrespect, the lack of marketing, and still believe in the bigger picture. What they got this season was a league that finally had its shot at the mainstream, only to fumble it with tone-deaf decisions and PR spin. You want to talk about disillusionment? These women were in the finals, the apex of the season, and they couldn't even get a packed house. The energy was flat, the arenas were half empty, and the media coverage? Minimal. It's hard to feel like you're building something special when you're looking around and wondering where everyone went. And the real kicker? There was a crowd earlier in the season. There was excitement. The Caitlin Clark effect was real, and it wasn't subtle. It didn't sneak in, it exploded. But instead of recognizing that and rallying around it, the league played defense, like acknowledging her impact would somehow erase the years of work other players have put in. Newsflash, it doesn't. It amplifies it. Or at least it could have, if the league had leaned in instead of shutting down. So now, instead of riding a wave of postseason glory, the WNBA is scrambling. Players are frustrated. Fans are divided. And league officials? Still acting like it's not that deep. But it is that deep because this was supposed to be the season that changed everything. The one that proved women's basketball could draw crowds, headlines, money. And instead, we got finals tickets priced like clearance bin leftovers. This wasn't just a missed opportunity. It was a self-inflicted wound. And if the league doesn't take a long, hard look at its leadership, its ego, and its refusal to adapt, this won't be the last time a championship feels more like a dress rehearsal. If you're still with us, shout it out in the comments. Should the league take accountability, or is this just how growing leagues operate? And make sure you're subscribed, because we're not done unpacking the chaos. There's always another meltdown, another misfire, and another lesson the powers that be refuse to learn. Until then, keep your snacks ready, because in the world of public failure, the mess always finds a way to tip off again.